Rafał Nowicki, how poorly implemented CI/CD hurt development teams? CI/CD, AC/DC, which one is it going to be? Stay tuned to find out. Rafał Nowicki, loud applause.
One, two, three. All right, so welcome everyone. So I was wondering for such time that is it like talking about continuous integration and continuous deployments nowadays actually makes sense because like all of that automations are like very accessible. So we have a lot of tools and almost like all of you are like setting up your projects at some point with like checkers, but also like automatic deployments. But in theory, like from the other hand, I also meet like people that complain about their like daily setup, about their development environments, and about that they spend too much time on repeating like not creative actually tasks, and unfortunately I also have that experience from some projects, and I think based on that that our awareness of that practices a lot depends on the group of people, on the environment where they grow. But at the same time about the team maturity. So finally, I decided to be there and like on PyCon 2022. And as automation freak, I will tell you what kind of project setup makes me sad. Right, and I will try and transfer try to answer that questions that were in the agenda for that conference, which is how poorly implemented CI/CD hurt development teams, but also what the price that organization pays. So I will try. To keep that talk in abstraction of the tools, because there's many tools. A lot of them are very intuitive. So it's quite easy to set up your pipelines, but not everyone is aware of that. Yeah, I believe that if you wish to check out the tools comparison, there is a lot of material articles in the internet, but also documentation is getting better. Like it's my observation for like a lot of projects. So yeah. So instead of like talking about the tools, I will try to highlight what are the pathologies, the pathologic situations, and bad habits regarding the pipeline setup. Then I will turn it to the best practices and example subjects to automate in your project if you don't do it already. And at the end, I will also share with you example configuration for the Greenfield project, and we'll think about how to apply the changes or fix your pipelines in already working project at a bit bigger scale. So my name is Rafał Nowicki. So I identify myself as a software engineer, a web consultant, freelancer, like the visionary guy. I work like in the industry, so I focus on the web application. I built them for over 10 years already, and like I was working in both environments, which is the startup environments, but also for global product companies. Besides that, I founded the startup that we called Upgrade Online, which is a set of applications for small and mid-sized companies to digitalize their daily order processing and the sale workflows. Besides that, I recently started to work with a software house that's full of experts in fintech, blockchain, and cybersecurity. So moving back to the subject of the presentation, let's think what are the most painful project setup. So what needs your attention? Let's see what kind of situation make the development team member that just joined the team. It's not such enthusiastic as after onboarding process when he or she was before. So I hope that you will, or I hope you won't share that feeling that I can see that it become like quite normal situation that newbies, that the guy who joined the project don't really question the status quo. And in regards, in cooperation of like people who is like working on the project for years, who actually would like yell that something is wrong, right? People get used to the project, so they don't are enthusiastic about many changes. So I think this is a hard problem and appears in many product companies. So if you don't know what the pain is yet in my mind, so you will see like examples and we will understand it in a moment. So the very first simple example is that there is no setup at all. So you get into the project. There is no pipeline at all. Everyone run their checks locally. Maybe there is some experienced guy in a project that is running the deployment scripts, so like deploying it or even the WoW scripts to the production, just locally from his computer. There is no CI tool implemented yet. Maybe it makes sense if you're running the hobby project. Maybe it makes sense when you're like friends, you're working in 2 or 3 person and you don't want to extend the team. But at some point you will need that. So why these situations actually like make place if the team is going to grow and they don't have like tools that make it simple. All of the code checkers should be set up before the team start to grow. So you don't need to explain them the workflow. You don't need to document what are the steps that you need to like do as like in the development process. Just that the process is like documented itself, right? So from the other hand, could you really trust your local environment? I mean, okay, there is a lot of variables that might say that you are like more proficient, like more trust to it or not. Depends on the tools that you use, if you use the containers or not. But to be honest, like most of the applications, like the development of environments are different in some regards than the like staging or production ones. In another case, let's assume that you have some CI set up. So you're running your test, for example, and this is always better than nothing. But there is still a lot of manual actions that each developer need to do, like bumping the version, triggering the deployments, Maybe you even don't run all of the tests because, for example, if you'd like to run end-to-end tests, you need some environment where to run on it, and it's not always possible or reliable to do that on the local environment. Yeah, again, is it really way to go? Think about the repetitions that you do in your project, and think how many of it is already scripted, how many of it is already triggered automatically. So if don't, if there is any, maybe this is a good point to start with and move and get rid of that practice. So false positive results. I believe all of you experience that if you have some CI setup. So this is probably the most common scenario. So I remember some time ago, even like in the Jenkins, I don't know if it's still already. There were like status for the builds, which was called like unstable, right? So okay, maybe it's normal for someone who used the Jenkins for a while. But what it actually mean? If the build is unstable, does it mean that it's fine and I can merge and I can proceed and what? If your build failed and application works, that's actually fine. But what other way around? So sometimes it's even better to don't have that job running, so people can be more careful about verifying that job, verifying that test, for example. This is my favorite. So you have a CI, and one of the most senior engineers in the team decided to write one script to set up everything. One script to rule them all, right? And just you need to move it to the pipeline, and voila, right? But the projects are complex, and if not, then it will become complex, and that script will grow, and that script will contain too much like uncertainties. So if you have that, you probably notice that maybe like running front-end tests with the back-end tests, or building front-end and back-end, front-end and back-end together in one script, or like if you, or like doing the code checking and at the same time running the tests, maybe it's a bit like overkill. At least it increases chances to failure, right? And if it fails, and it will probably fail more often than the small job, then you need to like go inside the job and look what exactly got broken, instead of that direct flash that alright, that's the front end tests are like failed. But what's actually the reason for running the front end tests if you develop only the back end and other ways around? Sometimes companies has a really nice CI setup, but it's not always like linked, or it's not always like visible so much. I mean, something is running in the cron jobs. So I was working once that like for a year in a company, and then by accident I realized that actually we have the end-to-end test that I wanted to like encourage people to start work on, but it was running on some job on like cron, so you needed to go into the Jenkins, review what is there, and obviously if you have like hundreds projects, it's really you don't really want to check all of that and think what it might do, right? And the worst thing is that you miss something that got failed. There is no notification on the team chat or the mail, And something that I also like experienced was that that people was annoying about some not really important failure, so they set them filters to on mail to get rid of it, right? And then if you did the filter wrong, then you get rid of too much notifications. And this one is quite similar to the previous one. Projects could be really complex, and you could retrieve a lot of reports. You could retrieve the reports from different sources. But if you don't parse it correctly, if you don't display it correctly, you don't get the conclusions from that run. So what was the point of running it? Fortunately, there is a lot like almost all, I think, or at least the ones that I use, that the test runners always have some like CI support, so they generate the report that they understand by different CI providers. So yeah, just it's not always works by default. So you need to put a little bit more attention to that to make it the setup. So it depends on your project. You don't need to implement like all of the jobs that I will like propose to you. But I would anyway like encourage you to automate as many as much as possible, because in most of the cases it's really easy like things to do. Yeah, I will show you like in a moment some example that I was so yeah that it's like really easy in like most of the cases that we need. And as mentioned at the beginning, the tools are really accessible. Like most of the CI providers use the like quite common like input file, which is YAML, and you can like very like easily configure it, or even it could be auto-generated. So it's like quite fresh experience. So I was recently playing with Google Cloud Platform, and I didn't verify that, but while like deploying the workloads from the Kubernetes like service, I just got the pop-up that I can easily set up the pipeline for the orchestration that I already have in place. And this is probably that kind of like generation that would happen in like almost like this. And if you don't need such sophisticated like infrastructure providers, you can always like use different kind of tools, and I will show you that in a moment. So basically, first point to think about it, to separate are the static code analytics, where I mean all of the linters. It's also like always taste of matter if you want to raise the exception or just run the code that will format your code or fix your fix some of your complexities. Yeah, so formatters, linters, whatever you need. Maybe the coverage reports. So these are the basics. So then another one obvious one are the unit testing. Then what is worth to do, and it's really it's like linear harder when the complexity of project grows. I believe it's linear, but yeah, in like nowadays, like you can have the automatic deployments very like easy. Then what you need to take care of it is another layer of the unit testing, and like this is why I put it like later, because in most of the cases you would need, for running integration tests or end-to-end tests, you would need some environment that is already like accessible. And another one is like package publishing. It's a bit bundled with the deployments, but it can be like some kind of the jobs that are like triggered when everything else is green. So you can like publish the package that from what you can build the staging. And the last thing is about generating documentation. So I don't remember. I don't actually know now how like if Sphinx is still used because like most of my Python experience was at the beginning of my career, but definitely there are some kind of the documentations that could be generated here. And like example from the more from the JavaScript world is like components documentation. So we have there something called Storybook that generate for you kind of live previews of the components, and it can be like updated actually once pull request is merged, or even on like review pull request. Yeah, so this might be not your focus in the place if you didn't take care of the previous aspects. But anyway, I believe that it's a crucial next steps to do in order to increase awareness of your application, awareness of how your user behave, what are the issues your user have, and to increase reliability of your continuous delivery. So starting with the health checks in like more distributed systems, this is something that you actually get by default. But maybe if you do it in a bit smaller scale, you would need to. Maybe it's worth to take care of it. Another one, quite obvious one, is logs. So this is really big advantage of getting like being able in one place to access logs from your different like application instances. So imagine that you have a multi-tenant application and you have a bunch of setup for your instances. So it's like good to have it in one place, so you can like much easier debug the problem in case of there is a problem already on production on some staging environment. Another one thing is the performance. What I mean by kind of profilers, but by kind of like measurements for the workflows. So there are also like a couple of tools for like in general for monitoring. Some of them are more focused on just like error logging, and some of them more in a direction of the performance. And the last one is the user behavior. So it's a bit more like again like light to the front end. So how your user behaves in terms of how you could improve the user experience, right? So it's not maybe such valuable for the development, but definitely if you're more the product oriented, like business oriented person, you would get the benefits from it. Right. So now the demo. All right. What we have here. I will show you two examples of just to show you how easy is to set up the your first pipeline. So back like 1 year ago, we had that situation in Upgrade where there were like 2 of us, and we wanted to grow the team, and this was like obvious thing to do. I mean, to set up the pipeline. So you don't put the effort of validation on the developer and the reviewer. You just get it, and you have that environment that you can trust instead of doing some like manual actions. So in first example, I will show you some project that don't have yet any kind of like pipeline setup. So I will use in that case a Circle CI. It's quite random choice, and later I will show you like how to like quickly set up the deployment pipeline. So firstly, I more focus about that continuous integration part, about the checkers, and then we'll go to the part about the deployment pipeline made with Heroku. Yeah, but more words in a second. So here is some example project. It doesn't matter actually what it does. I also like rename it, but it's actual code that is running on our production. So what we have here. So there is a project in my on my GitHub account, and I log into CI. I have a project list, and once I connect to the GitHub, and I give it the read and write permissions to some repositories, I can see it there, and I can quickly set it up. So just the background, that project is running on Python. I think it's a Flask, sorry, not Flask, Fast API, and besides of that, it's using PyTest. So we want to have the checker for the PyTest. All we need to do is to just click a button to set up the project. There are like a couple of ways how to do that, and yeah, I like this one. So I can, so it will take me to editor where I can already like preview and test my pipeline configuration. But the first thing that it asks you is to what start with, right? So yeah, there are like plenty of templates, but also if they're not like officially supported by Circle CI, you can also write some kind of the extension, and it's called ORP, I think, in that sense, and you can like really quickly use it, because at the end, like most of our configuration are like very similar. So why not to just open source that's and provide it as some kind of like plugins. So I select Python. Yep, and it already yeah. So it has write permission, but I check that it will write a commit to the new branch. So we don't mess with the master. Yeah, it's not like such easy to navigate in that Zoom, but let's see what it generates. So we have that ORP that is like that is called like Python for the Python actually, and the very default job that it generates to us is called, the workflow is called build and test. It uses some like Docker image with Python 3.10, and these are like the steps that it does. So it generated for me. So I now like based on the documentation and based on all of that comments that refers me in each part, like I can just read and I can extend it. But all I need is to just do the default. So I want to check out, I want to install packages with pip. There is a requirements.txt file, if I remember correctly. And then you can run command PyTest. Yeah, how is this? So I run commit and run, and let's see what happens. So it navigates me to the project dashboard right now, and you can see that something is running. So this is another example project. Yeah, I can even like filter it by the branch and so on. And this is running. So this is some sample that is running. Here I would see more jobs if there are more. Right now there is only one. You've seen that in a config, it's build and test. I can just open it and see what is happening here. So there are all of that steps that are like needed to do. So here you can see that it's doing some like preparations, saving some cache in case of so by default in case of to optimize it, and it's running some tests here. Seems like everything passed. Yay. So what next? I can raise a PR because yeah, this is the something that got pushed by CI, and you can already see that I have that check passed because it even like ran it because the commit was in the registry. So here you can see all of the checks. It might be like many of them. So another example is that for that such small project, we didn't want to like spend like much time on like writing all of our like orchestration from scratch. So we decided to go with some like optimal solution. It's not good for everyone, for every project, but if you have the greenfield, it's yeah probably the fastest way to do. If the cheapest, I don't know. So what I mean, we use the Heroku, and the Heroku is kind of if you classify that GCP, AWS, providers. It's called as a infrastructure as a service, but then we have but then on another level the Heroku exists, and this is kind of the platform as a service. So it basically provides some kind of middleware API on top of the infrastructure. So under the hood, it uses the AWS, but like deploying application is much simple. So I can see that there are trends for, at least seems like, or like people are taking more attention to that. So there are more tools like this. So for example, recently it got quite popular, the Vercel. Maybe not sure if you can deploy the Python here, but there is a lot of front-end Node-related applications that you can like easy deploy and like even having some like version control for the and rollbacks and so on. Okay, but to don't talk too much, I will show you. So this is my personal account here, and I don't have any apps yet, but yeah, I can create one. Sorry, actually, I don't want to create one. This one, I want to create pipeline. So I do it from here. Yeah, I call it sample pipeline. And I'm looking for that repository. It was example project. So I connect to it and create pipeline. And by default, I have that kind of visualization of like different different states, different kind of environments. The first one is called here review app, but it's more or less the automation for building environment for particular branch or commit, actually. Then you have staging environment, and then you have production environments. Here, like to be to be there, to be compatible with Heroku, you need some kind of like easy like configuration in your repository. As I said, it's not great because it's not much flexible. So you basically need to use that the way you need to set up the project in a way that it forces you to do. So to don't do here a lot, I will show you some existing pipeline. So I will go to not this one. Yep. So there is a deployment for our trial applications, and this is basically how it looks. So we have some like staging application. Actually, we call it test. By the way, you can extend it. It's not like very extensive. You could have 4 columns, so you could distinguish the testing, staging, and then production instead of just staging and then production. So we have some environment here that got set up in order to be auto-deployed. So the commit to the master came. It just got rebuilt. And like good thing is that. So it's very easy. So after this is like set up, I can either set up production environments to also build from some branch, but I could also manually do that just clicking on the production, promote to production, and I can like manage if I want to deploy it to all of my production environments or just one of it. Yeah, and the review apps. I wonder if I can show you that. Yep. So yeah, maybe. Okay, where is that? Yeah, this one, not this one. Yep. So maybe let's skip that part. What else I wanted to show you? Yeah. So we make some like travels here for ourselves because we decided to use 2 different like kind of providers. So we have like some different tool for the continuous deployment, something different for the continuous integration. So it's sometimes quite like hard to make the syncs between both of them. So, for example, in a workflow where we want to like build environment from the master and then run the test across of it, like per each pull request that is raised or per each like change in that pull request, it makes us some like we need to wait sometimes for that environment, and we just the build is running and we cannot just trigger when the build is over. But the advantage is that was that all of that setup, so almost like full CI/CD was done in like one day, and previously I didn't have much experience with doing it other way than in Jenkins and in more like just bigger projects, right? Like with AWS, for example. What I can show you here is also another project where we have a couple of builds set up. So these are that end-to-end tests that I mentioned to you. And besides that, we have two kind of configuration for the backend tests and also for the front-end tests. So yeah, these got distinguished. What else you have here? Once it's deployed, we have that the environment is just removing after some time. So now it's inactive, but thanks to that integration with GitHub, you can just open the environment and preview it here. Looking at the code, so this is basically our whole a whole setup. So the backend tests, it's a bit more complicated, but yeah, you can also like simplify it. So here we needed to create some like bunch of like couple of databases to test the tenancy approach, and then we have the end-to-end test running. Like the painkiller also was that. Sorry, the pain was that tests for the E2E are in separate repository. Yep. So more or less, this is how it looks. So you can you will get that like examples in a moment. I mean, with the presentation. So moving back to the presentation. Right, so you've seen some example with the greenfield. So you can see, like by my example, with almost no knowledge about the setting up it, I was like able to do that for our project in like almost one day, and then how to actually, like not many of you, or I don't know how much, but definitely there's another part of you that is working on more sophisticated projects, and there is already like a big complexity. So how to move forward with legacy? So there's always not the great graal for that, but I can like tell you how we do that in my in the company where I was like working for that enterprise product, SaaS product. So at least, yeah. So the first thing which is quite important is to like clarify their responsibilities, and this is something that needs to be done. This is the human level problem, as many of the problems here. So what it means? So who is responsible for that piece of code? Who is responsible for that repository? Who is responsible for writing that job, maintaining that pipeline? Is it an external maybe outsourced DevOps team, or is it like the development team? Like, do you have a one team that is doing that maintenance job, or maybe you have like a couple of teams? So this is the first thing that is getting like easier once you start to think about responsibility, and it's not only in CI CD setup, but in general it makes your life easier if you know who is responsible for what and to who to go to. Another one is that if this is kind of legacy project or kind of like project that is already running and you have some kind of setup that you're not satisfied with, so you probably you don't want to rewrite it like on the current setup, because you might make much more less, and at the meantime maybe you will stop prevent teams from the development. That might be the catastrophe. But you can just set up another pipeline on a site, and then just piece by piece split it piece by piece. Like if you know what was the responsibilities, you know what kind of person or team should write the front end jobs, which one to the back end jobs, and who the end-to-end test, and so on. So yeah, you can start doing it at the same time when the old checkers are running. And once you have that, it's much easier to handle with the flakiness. Yeah. So you can now you identify you identify like with which kind of jobs there are problems, so you can work on the stability for it. Yep. So the question is like, is it worth the effort? Many people say that all the automations are like very expensive, and like definitely maintaining it is expensive. So I think that if you do it in a clever way, then you can do it. But maybe it's still the matter of balance. So just don't do like everything. Just do the things that are the most important for you and they're blockers for you. So I would just tell you that you don't need to, and you shouldn't trust me. I mean, just trust your environment, trust your data, do your own measurements. And this is the kind of measurements that I did. In my case, because I was doing at this time like a couple of roles at the same time, and I just do it just to know like how to better manage my time. And as a side effect, I measure how many time I spend of the code reviews. So this is a kind of average of I think one sprint work, and I realized that, so everyone knows that like we had a problem with the builds that takes a lot of time, but the fact is that with that creative work, I mean, if you think that code reviews are like that exciting and creative as me, then I spend just 22% of reading the code on like chatting, like writing the comments and syncing with people to talk about the code. Then I needed to like test all of that changes manually, because this is the way how we worked. So I spent a lot of time on doing that, and you can imagine the time even grow when there is some small mistake, and I would need to repeat the whole process. And also we had the builds for that, right? So you need to wait for build to pass, and it was like quite complex builds, because it built like a lot of things at once, and obviously you can do another review in the meantime, but it's context switching is not a great thing to do. So at the end, if I spend just 22% on that creative work, I could just do 4 times more reviews if we could eliminate that impediment. And just to like do the quick math, because I promised at the beginning that we'll also talk about the money. So if I just do 1/4 of my job, it means that the 1/3 is the waste of the money for like the waste actually that organization have. So at the same time, I could just work 1/4 part-time, and actually in some average, I think I took around 100,000 euros as average for the developer. It means that every day we lose, so the company lose 300 euros. And if you take a look at the bigger team, which was actually not as big, but you can see that it's 50 case key every day. And if you see the monthly results, it's 1.3 million. And if you then count it in year, it's 4 million. So it's quite nice money that could be invested a bit different way. And definitely, if some part of that money could be invested into remove that impediment, then there will be like gain for everyone. And at the end, what's the real price of the engagement? So if you're doing the boring job, how long you would do that? So in summary, I would recommend you to automate as much as possible. and focus on the create work, measure and decide on data. I'm big data fan, so I do a lot of measurements of my daily basis. So if you don't do that, just give it a try. Just give it a week or so and see what kind of things you could improve in your daily basis. And yeah, the one thing is that management definitely don't like to waste money, but good management don't like to waste your effort. Thank you. Here you will find the presentation.
Thank you very much. We have quite a few questions, so we can take, I believe, 3 of them. Aren't you afraid of doing integration tests after deployment? What's the procedure when they fail?
Depends on on which part of the deployment take place. Because in the upgrade example, so we do the deployment to that environment that is linked with the pull request, every commit change. So first we run the test that can be run with Python, for example, and then once the environment is built, once the changes got deployed, then we run it. So if this is happening just before merge to master, that's all fine, and this is actually why is it organized in that way. If you're not able to set up deployment for every pull request, at least you should have some kind of the testing environment that is rebuilt after the master, which means that if you find the failure after the master, it's still okay, right? Unless you have that approach that master should be ready to merge. So basically, depends about a lot of variables.
Okay, next one. What are the advantages of Circle CI over GitHub Actions?
Yeah, so I don't know. So this was kind of random choice. I think that 1 year ago, it was GitHub Actions was not as such popular as now. I think it was crawling then. So it was, as I said, the Circle CI was quite a random choice. We tried to use the Heroku CI, but it was very simple and too simple, and we couldn't do the stuff that we wanted to. But I also use the GitHub Action in production. I think that Google Cloud also generates for you the pipelines. I mean, jobs in GitHub Actions. Yeah, just tool.
Okay, and last one, where to put database migrations in the setup you've showed?
Yeah, so it's a part of the deployment. Here on Heroku, we have something like, I will show you. Yeah, so basically there is Heroku has some kind of hooks that is run while the environment is built, before it's built, but actually we use that before it's built, but there are a couple of hooks, and you can use it. Yeah, I will just show you how is it. Let me share the screen. Yeah, so it's called post-compile, I think. It means that everything regarding the Python has already built there, all of the requirements and so on, and this is a moment for doing your job. So, for example, here we have that distinguished for some testing environments, also for the tenants approach, but more or less this is a step here. And you wouldn't do that make migrations, but this is something special for us. If you run on schema, isolated schema approach, so let's treat it as a detail. And actually, migrate schemas is a kind of like layer that is running the migration under the hood. So it's basically run each time that you build an environment. I know that people also afraid of this, so they prefer to run it and to run it manually. Just in case of error, you can react. But we try to build the application in a way that the migration shouldn't fail. I mean, we, for example, don't do the data migrations inside the Django migrations. We just have a separate commands for it. And all of the schema, like most of the schema migrations are pretty safe, at least in my opinion. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Everyone, Rafał Nowicki.
Thank you.